You're listening to the Grow Landscapers podcast, the podcast where we delve deeper into landscape business, interviewing legends of the UK landscaping industry. So, join host Nick Ruddle as he explores their thoughts, insights and experiences. That's here on the Grow Landscapers podcast.
Hi and welcome to the Grow Landscapers podcast. I'm Nick Ruddle and today we're joined by current Barley board member Nigel Bowcock from Acre Landscapes. How you doing, Nigel?
I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. I know you've been in the industry now for over 30 years and you're extremely active within it. And I said, as I said, you know, you're a current Barley board member, also pretty instrumental in the amazing Barley initiative Go Landscape, which is all about attracting more people into this great industry. So great to have you on the show. Really, really good to have you on.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad I'm number 14 and not 4099.
No, that's right. No one would ever find you then, would they? So in addition to all that stuff that you do in the industry, in your day job with Acre Landscapes, you've also won loads of Chelsea Flower Show medals and is it 6 Grand Barley Awards? Was it?
1 Grand Barley Award and probably around about 6 or 7, I should think, other Barley Awards, over the years.
Amazing. So obviously like giving back to the industry as well. And no doubt that will come out in the questions I'm going to ask you and the answers you give. So, okay, let's get cracking then. The early years. So where did it all start for Nigel Bowcock?
40 years I've been in the industry. When I was 15, I grew up in Sutton Coldfield in the West Midlands, as you can probably tell by my accent. And we used to have quite a big garden. My family were big gardeners. I got into golf and decided to turn part of the garden into a pitch and putt course. Really got stuck into having the best green that anyone saw. I really wanted to make it a different sort of pitch and putt. Got obsessed with agronomy and horticulture, and decided that's what I wanted to do as a living, really. A guy up the road was mowing lawns, so I started working for him when I was sort of 15, 16. Gave me £10 a day, which is quite a lot of money in the early 80s, 50 quid a week. And from there, went to school occasionally, never paid any attention, was called thick, spent all my time looking out the window like I am now. And I was told at a careers event that my choice of career to be a landscaper was probably the worst idea I'd ever had, by a guy called Mr. Tonks. And I left school, no qualifications really, and started mowing lawns. Then my dad forced me to go to college. So I went to the Staffordshire College of Agriculture, did an NCH. After that, I went and did an ANCH at the Welsh College of Horticulture. Learned loads, loved it. And that's how I started in horticulture, really. Mr. Tonks, being Mr. Tonks, motivated me and still motivates me to this day, really. Because I said to him after he embarrassed me in front of all my mates, I said, "I'll show you, Mr. Tonks." And I like to think that I have. I've still got a picture of him on my wall. Not that I'm obsessed with Mr. Tonks. I make that clear.
You've got darts in it. Have you got a load of darts?
Yeah, no. I look over there sometimes and I think that's exactly how not to treat people.
Yeah,
and he's been my inspiration ever since, you know, because I really...
We've got a lot to thank him for, really, because that was a bit of a driving force for you by the sounds of it.
Yeah. A lot of people say that they're driven. I don't think I'm that driven. I think I'm pulled along by my insecurities that sod gave me, really. So to prove him wrong, that's why I work so hard. I think I probably had it in me to prove everyone wrong, really. But I put all my efforts into my career. Left the Welsh College of Horticulture, worked in Kent for a year for a company called Art into Landscape. Left there, went back to the Midlands, ran my own company for a year. Then it snowed and we ran out of work. And then I started my serious career at a company called Hasmead when I was about 21, 22, and worked there for 19 years. And that's where I really learned my trade. I absolutely love those 19 years. We built some amazing gardens, some amazing schemes, won the Barley Grand Award, won loads of recognition in the industry. We were one of the major players for a good sort of 15 years. We had over 200 employees.
Wow.
I built my own little niche within the company. I ran the construction side of things mostly towards the end, and we just had the best time. We built some of the biggest, some of the best landscapes that are still in existence now, such as Legoland in Windsor,
Right.
loads of Chelsea Flower Shows, loads of John Paul Getty's estate in Oxfordshire, loads of landscaping at Heathrow Airport, and that's what we did. And we turned what was a fairly average company, turning over a couple of million. And I think by the time I left, 19 years later, we were turning over nearly 20 million with over 200 employees. And we really made a big difference to the industry, really raised standards. We were really compliant, really competitive. And most of our work was won through negotiation rather than tendering. And that's what I aspire Acre to be. And we're a good way along doing that now. But that's basically how I started, and that's my career. I didn't dot around 2 years here, 2 years there. I stuck at it and worked my way up from supervisor to shareholder and director. But with the pride and the ego that I had when I was less than 40 years old, I didn't feel that satisfied. I needed to go out there and really prove myself. And decided to leave, and I bought a small company called Acre Landscapes that was based 100 miles west of here in Andover, which is an estate, one of many. And I left building one of the biggest landscape schemes ever built at Terminal 5 at Heathrow on a Friday, handed it over to the client, no snags, delivered on time, on budget, brilliant job. Brilliant project, and started working back on the tools when I was 40 years old.
Wow.
And started again, which was a mistake, really. I should have prepared for it, but I just couldn't. After being on one project for nearly 8 years, I didn't want to go back to head office. I wanted to go out on my own, and I should have done it a different way. But what did I learn from that? I learned everything again. I learned maintenance again. I knew what it was like to be on the tools again. And here I am, how many years later? 14 years later, running Acre Landscapes, and we're in a good position now. So that was a long answer to where it all started, Nick. But that's basically my career in a nutshell. And at Acre, we turn over 4 or 5 million, 36 employees. We've won a Barley Award, and loving it. I've never had so much job satisfaction, ever.
Yeah, it just goes to show, is it taking that leap of faith and having that picture of Mr. Tonks up there? It's just makes you think, I just cannot fail, because he will be right. So what a massive leap of faith, though, sort of leaving that really sort of cushy, safe, well-paid job to then think, right, give all that up. And then start on your own again, back on the tools, relearning stuff. I mean, fair play. That's a huge sort of decision at that kind of stage in your life, isn't it? Probably children involved and everything else, and lots of pressure. So
yeah. I mean, there were some huge mistakes, and a lot of stuff happened that was out of our control. The very month I left Hasmead and started Acre, or took over Acre, the main guy left. That forced me to go onto the tools and stand in and start building it again. But also the banks crashed in the same month, and the phone was going. Everyone was cancelling contracts. I mean, it was a really small firm, but I think even in the first 6 weeks, we lost 50% of our clients because they had to go to the bigger FM companies that washed their windows as well as did the maintenance. So it was horrific. It was horrific. It was welcome to the world of being an entrepreneur again, Nigel.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very difficult period. But I was leaving the house at like 4:30, 5 in the morning, traveling 100 miles to get to Andover and do the maintenance for the guys that I had, and then getting in about 6, 7 o'clock at night, and then doing the paperwork and the marketing and all that sort of stuff. So it was a baptism of fire, really, and that was hard. And there's been harder times, but that was a hard way to take over a company.
Yeah.
And sod's law with the banks crashing. And it dropped from a turnover of about 200,000, I think it was, to about 120, which was beyond our control. And then slowly, year after year after year, we built that up to where we are now.
But what a phenomenal success story, and fair play. I mean, you've earned your stripes, haven't you? You know, you've been there like most people have in business, and especially on this podcast, you know, you'll hear loads of people that have, you know, had tough times. And if you're in business, you're going to have tough times. It's how you respond in times of crisis, isn't it? And what you do, what mindset you have and the actions you take. So that's amazing. That's brilliant. And we love Mr. Tonks because, you know, without him, maybe you wouldn't be quite so determined. And so,
you never know, do you? But he's, I mean, at this age, I'm 55 now, you start looking back and becoming chairman or chair of Barley this year, sort of looking back about how I ended up in this position. And his influences are massive, albeit negative, as to my ambition. And the support of Barley, the APL in the early days, and my friends and colleagues in the industry, I wouldn't have got to where I was without them.
Yeah.
It's all about taking that influence and using it to the best of your ability, really. And you know, just being a Barley member, for example, and learning from my peers, and just having 10 minutes with someone like David Dodd, Jake Catlin, or Paul Downer gives you just like enough information to take you for the rest of the year. You know, who the best suppliers are, what's the latest technology, who shouldn't you work for, who should you work for, you know, your experiences.
Priceless, isn't it?
Yeah, it's second to none. And I encourage anyone to join that, to join an association, to glean that information.
Yeah, well, that's one of the main reasons why I thought about creating this podcast, is because obviously I coach a lot of companies in the landscaping industry, and I hear a lot of these good stuff all the time, and I know they all talk, our clients talk, they talk to people in the industry, and I thought, well, how could we sort of capture all that so that everyone else can learn about all this stuff? And the common theme with everyone, as you know, I think you've listened to all the podcasts so far, they all say, you know, just ask, just the industry is so abundant, so helpful. The answers are out there. You've just got to go out there and find it and ask, and anyone will help you, you know. And with a great organization like Barley or the APL or SGD or, you know, any other organization that's out there, industry body, then don't be alone. I think don't be alone, and just learn from those people that have already been through that. You know, you don't have to reinvent it. You don't.
Yeah. It cuts down on the school fee. I call them school fees. You know, when you make a massive decision that ultimately costs you money, you know, you're investing in your knowledge, and you can, not always, but you can circumnavigate the school fee amount by speaking to somebody that's trodden that route before. And I always give advice, always try and give an impartial, experience laden advice to anybody, and that altruism is as rewarding as winning a Barley Award. You know, to see somebody listening and learning and avoiding the mistakes that I've made, it's just brilliant.
To be able to do that to someone is so rewarding, isn't it? It really, really is. You know, because you don't want people to make the same mistakes. If you can help them avoid them, wow, because that's very costly for people, because it could be expensive in cash, in energy, mental health, relationships, you know, all sorts of things. So if you can just avoid some of those pitfalls, it's gonna get you to where you want to get to a little bit quicker and a little less painfully as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you've answered a couple of the questions I had lined up already by
typical of me, dotting about all over the place,
and where you started and what it looks like now. So I think we've covered those, which is really, really good. But in terms of what do you think the most important elements are then to running a successful business? If you could sort of think of, I don't know, 2, 3, or a handful of things that you think are crucial and key for you being successful.
Yeah. So really, it's to have a vision as to where you want to be. I don't want to take over the world and be an equivalent Hasmeed and being that massive. I just want to earn a decent living. I want to be able to retire eventually. And I think just having a vision of where you want to be by the time you get to the end of your career. And understanding where your sweet spot is in your business. Time and time again, we as a business have moved away from what we're good at, which is high-end soft landscape construction and maintenance. We often get pulled by clients to, I don't know, get involved in building a swimming pool or a massive water feature, or something that we have to sub out. And whenever we have to sub out, it's fraught with problems. We end up making virtually no margin. It completely distracts us. So where we're most successful is understanding where our sweet spot is and just concentrating on that, where our capabilities are, where our margins are made, and just doing that. So I would strongly recommend that any company understands where their sweet spot is and only diversify from that if you're understanding of the risks involved. And of course, the obvious one is the people that you have around you as a business owner. I couldn't be where I am today without my right-hand man, Shane, and the team I've got here with I won't name check everybody, but it's important to have self-motivated, driven.
Yeah.
I've used the wrong word there because I just said at the beginning of this I wasn't driven, but people who are as ambitious as you to get on and just going for it and learning from avoiding as many mistakes as you can make, but just learning from them and adapting, and just continue on the path to wherever you want to be. It's not easy. I mean, my family life has suffered as a consequence of me being so work obsessed at times, but just keep going. As Churchill said, I'm no Churchill, but it's quite true, isn't it? You just got to continue in adversity, and you get there. But yeah, just to understand your sweet spot, get the right people around you, have a vision, and join an association to share experiences and learn from others. Really.
Yeah, it's fairly. I mean, you think about it like that, it sounds quite simple, doesn't it? And it sounds like common sense, but it's not always that obvious to people at the time. But
it's not. It's really easy to get distracted. For me, it's quite difficult to turn work down. I still have an ego. I still want to be the best in our sector, but it's really difficult. It is really simple advice, and I'm not the most complicated of individuals, I like to think, but it's really easy to get distracted from where your margins are.
Yeah,
we do it continually. Our estimators, young Sam over in the other part of the office, he loves to win work. He's driven by winning work, but it has to be the right work and it has to be at the right margins. And we don't ever play into the dark arts of estimating where we skin jobs and do what a lot of our competitors do. It's not what we're about. We see certain people on the tender list and we just don't price it. Yeah. You have to be careful. You have to work for the right people. I could tell you some horror stories about working for the wrong people.
Yeah.
And just keep it as simple as you possibly can. That's my strong advice. The minute you make it complicated, the minute you take unnecessary risks, it can set you back along your journey.
Absolutely, and knowing your numbers is so crucial. It's funny because Mark Gregory on his podcast, I think I know you've listened to that one. He says his role within the business is about risk management, and he's good at knowing and identifying risk and when to do things and when not to do things. So it's similar to what you said. You'd rather walk away than be a busy fool and make no money on a project. Let someone else, it's a race to the bottom, isn't it?
And that's hard. That's so easy to say and harder to do. You want to be involved with certain clients and certain designers on certain projects, but to actually say no is it harder to do than you might imagine, especially when you're trying to build a business. I made a horrific mistake 3 years after I bought Acre. We got approached by a rather famous developer who I won't mention, and they gave us an opportunity to start our journey. And it was through a main contractor, again I won't mention but their name, but they did their best to bust us. It was over £1 million worth of work. They didn't pay us for 3 months. They found every reason to not pay us. The typical. This was in the recession times. The typical way of trying to bust a company, and these guys are responsible for busting 3 or 4, to my knowledge, Bartley members. But I had this unwarranted optimism. I had this need to get back to where I came from, and I took the job on, and it was the worst decision I ever made. And 3 months with no income apart from a small maintenance portfolio was horrendous. And they were ringing us weekly to see if we were still liquid. And these things happen. You don't read about them, but people do their best to bust smaller, vulnerable companies because it just improves their P&L. Yeah. And that was one massive lesson. Were there any positives from it? Yeah, I mean, we delivered a snag-free, brilliant, mainly hard landscaping project in West London that I still use for marketing today, but we lost 6 figures on it. Yeah, and we had to trade our way out of it. And it took us sort of 2.5 years, and I took that broadly on my shoulders, and that's probably the worst decision I've ever made. But at the time, it seemed like the best decision.
Yeah, biggest lesson. Definitely one of your biggest lessons, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Which there's value in that.
The biggest lesson was learning who to work for, and to understand what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So in answer to my question, in terms of the most important elements, having a vision there, having a focus, not getting distracted, stick to what you're good at, don't get distracted by the side shows, focus on the main event, recruit great people, and really, really understand your numbers and your risk element of that as well. So I think there's some great little nuggets in there.
Recruit the right people and manage the team. I do manage risks, like Mark said, but I also manage the team. It's my job to ensure that everyone is on the right page, on the same page, and are heading towards our strategy and vision. I'd probably spend more time managing the team than I do managing risk now. Yeah. Like last Friday, we all had a barbecue here. The whole firm came. We had the best time, best company do we've ever had, and we're in the best shape we've ever been. I've got the right people in the right places, and everyone gets on. It's that, and everyone talks about the team and getting the right people in the right places. It's also managing them and ensuring and being relaxed with them. I speak more about football with our guys than I probably do about Acre. It's about engagement and just being natural and having a laugh. Those lovely three things everyone quotes. Every project has to earn money, obviously. It has to be good fun, and it has to advance our reputation. You don't do that unless the team are in the right headspace, the right motivation levels, and they're up for it.
Well, if they're all happy people are productive people, really, generally. And if they're happy, they respect you, they enjoy what they do, they're passionate people, they've got good work ethic, shared values, and all want to achieve the same goal, And I think a combination of all those things is a really, really, really healthy formula. And at some point you find the right sort of jigsaw pieces for the puzzle, and it all starts to click. But get in there over the years, you fail your way to success. I say it so many times, but you try this, you try that. Certain people don't work out, certain people do. And eventually you find the winning formula that's right for you and your business.
Absolutely. And the stronger your culture becomes, I always find that the people that we recruit either fit in to that culture, adapt to that culture, or they don't, and they leave within a couple of weeks. And it's quite obvious if they don't fit in. I wrongly thought for years it was my job to motivate people. I think you probably taught that when you're doing a master's degree or whatever, but it isn't really my job to motivate anybody. Everyone that works here is self-motivated. It's my job to inspire them, to get them to the vision of where we want to get to, which is an award-winning high-end soft landscape specialist in maintenance construction. That's my vision. I get turned on more by visiting sites than I do looking at any spreadsheet. and to see our guys really engaging. I mean, last night, for example, I was on WhatsApp and the Acre Landscape WhatsApp, and there's a guy, Matt, over in Kidbrooke, was enthusing about a moth that he'd seen, and I didn't even know what the moth was, and this sort of enthusiasm I've never ever had in a business, and just to be thinking about moths before I go to bed is brilliant. I don't know what's going to come next, but this sort of information, this sort of engagement, is gold, and that's what I try and encourage, and that's how we've got to where we are, really.
Yeah, as long as that moth doesn't get in your wardrobe, because then you won't make a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, isn't it? And I think once you've got the right people on the bus and they all share the same values, they all want the same thing, that's when it becomes easier. The problems come when you've got people that are wrong for your business, and it's usually like the 80-20 rule. So 20% of people might give you 80% of the aggro. Get rid of that 20%, and makes life a lot easier, much more enjoyable for everyone involved. So look, you
can apply the same to clients as well. There's probably 80% of the clients you should be working for. There's 20% who operate, or the individuals within those companies who you should really try and avoid. I mean, that it's utopia, isn't it, to have 100% engaged workforce all heading towards it, and 100% all clients. But it is around 80% at any given time, regardless of effort and input.
Pareto's law. There's everything in life. I think you could equate. You could relate to 80%. Generally most people are good, but it's usually the minority in life that do let you down. Okay then. So I've asked you quite a few questions, and you've answered some of the questions I haven't even asked yet, which is brilliant, because it's really natural. And you're just talking about the challenges you've had, what you would do to improve things and all the rest of it, and what advice would you give? But if you could think about what to you is the most rewarding thing that you found in your time in business, what has been the most rewarding thing? You touched on part of it earlier.
Yeah, the most rewarding thing is the team. I mean, I get no greater satisfaction than a lad coming in, having fun. This is getting back to where we first started this, but coming in, no qualifications, probably got ADHD or something. I would probably be diagnosed with that now. But to see somebody coming in who's failed academically, and then getting confidence from working with one of our teams, and then working their way up through the business. There's no greater satisfaction I get than somebody making a success of their career, and me being able to enable them to be a success. A lot of people come up through the ranks and then decide to go and change industry. I know people who work for some of the biggest construction firms that started their career here. And a lot of our guys remain here and are now managers and supervisors and have a big portfolio of either maintenance or construction sites. There's nothing better than that. That's what gives me the biggest buzz being here. Like I said, it's not spreadsheets, it's not profit or loss. They're very important, of course. We wouldn't be here without them, but being successful at them. But seeing people reach their goals and then going out and seeing the teams is the second best enjoyable thing that I get. I mean, I get such a buzz from going out and seeing the guys out on site. I don't do it enough, but to see guys really being proud about their sites, whether it's maintenance or construction, and seeing the difficulties that they have that I don't appreciate, because I haven't been on the tools for about 13 years. I was crap at it anyway. The second go at doing it,
keep you off site. Keep you away from site.
Rubbish. I'd have sacked myself out of it. But to see their challenges and see how they overcome them, and see the pride that they have at delivering the projects they deliver, that enthuses me. Absolutely enthuses me. So again, it's about people and their journey, and just people enjoying themselves. And there is no other industry like it. The guys that I grew up with back in the Midlands in the 70s and 80s, there's still a group of us, about 15, 16 people, and they all envy the fact that I can go outside at any minute, even now at this age, and they all wish that they had
Too late.
a more serious thought about choosing landscape as a career. A lot of them are overweight and unsatisfied and regret their career. I mean, I don't know anyone that regrets choosing landscape as a career. You know, yeah, we all moan. Yeah, we all have difficult periods. If you'd have met me when I did that job where we were losing money every week and not being paid, I don't think I'd have said, yeah, landscaping's great.
Yeah, brilliant.
but yeah, come in, yeah. But you know, the guy that helped me through that still works for me, and you know, we worked together for 30 years, and thanks, Stu. And I still look back at that as the lowest point, but coming out of that, there is no better industry. I've never been in another industry, but from anecdotal evidence everywhere else, it's
amazing. It is so good. I've coached a lot of industries, and I love it. That's why I've now focused all my efforts and energies on this industry, because I enjoy it. I enjoy the people, I enjoy the passion, I enjoy, you know, how determined they are, and that they like nature and they want to help people. They just generally tend to be quite good eggs, you know. So
there's always a chink in the personality, Nick, isn't there? Have you ever noticed that if you go into, I don't know, the Red Bar or whatever after the Barley Awards,
you
always see the biggest success people. You always see they've got something about them. They know exactly who's in the room. They stand out. They're probably the most drunk at times, but they're the major players, you know, in landscaping. And there's that certain, I say chink, I should think of a better word. There's something about the guys like that, and I couldn't think of a better industry.
But I think all those people, they probably weren't always like that. I think the experiences and the battle scars, I think, gives you that kind of wisdom and that kind of, you know, that aura, I suppose, and that respect, you know, from people. They admire you and respect you, and yeah, I think you get back what you give. I think, you know, the law of reciprocity, you know, a lot of people are very abundant. They give a lot. And therefore, I think nature naturally does sort of, or law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, the universe just sort of says, look, you can have, you know, loads of good stuff happen to you, because if you give a lot, you know, it's nourishing in itself, you know.
It is, but you've got to get the balance right there. A few years ago, I was believing in giving back far too much. You know, we built gardens at our cost. We planted trees over in Belgium for the War Graves Commission at our cost. We built a theatre down the road from here. I used to spend weekends planting up high streets and what have you. And being an obsessive, I went too far. You know, I moved away from Acre again. You know, I did not again, but my concentration was outside. You know, so I had to make a conscious decision to row that back in, and now we just do one project a year.
Yeah,
that enhances the local environment. And I give up my time obviously for barley, but yeah, you can go too far.
I think with
that was another lesson that I learned. I really enjoyed it. I massively enjoyed it. Perhaps as much as I enjoyed Acre.
Yeah.
But to give up weekends and evenings and do stuff at cost was just far too altruistic.
Your family suffer as well, don't they? So you think, what do I love more? Do I love that, or do I love my family more? You know, and that can sometimes be an awkward conversation with the other half. But we won't go. We won't go there. So I'm very conscious of time, and we could be in danger of actually being on the call longer than the call we had with Mark Gregory, which I think is the.
Really, has it been that long? Have I been waffling?
I don't know. No, you've definitely not been waffling. But I want to make sure that we do finish with some more little nuggets. So there might be quite a few people who are listening to this who may be stuck at the moment, or may not be getting everything they want from the business. They may be in the situation where you used to be in, you know, on the story you told there. If there is anyone who's having a bit of a tough time now, and they want to, you know, they're determined to make their business work for themselves and their family and everyone else around them, what do you think they would need to do? What advice would you give them if they're at that point, they just don't know how to get to that next level? What would be your sort of top tips?
Excuse me. And in terms of expansion, do you mean, or just keep?
They're struggling where they are. They want to get to the next level. Don't know, you know, where to start, what to do. From your experience,
it's there's a million and one factors really, but to get to the next level, you've got to get your name out there. You've got to meet people. You've got to meet the right people. You're only as good as, I know these are all cliches, but they all mean something. You're only as good as your last job. Take pride in what you do. Use that last job mercilessly as a marketing tool.
Brilliant.
Break down doors. Have as much ambition. If you want to get to the next level, you have to demean yourself almost by getting on the phone and attracting as many potential clients as you possibly can through marketing, through direct phone calls, through I've just finished a job in your area. Get the right people around you and treat the industry with respect. I see a lot of people expand far too quickly and start cutting corners, start caring about the buck much more than the last job, and expand organically, self-funded, never borrow. As you know, we've always been self-funded, and just go for it, really. I expanded through our portfolio. You know, we did some really sexy works early on by me knowing people in the industry, and we still use them as our marketing tools now, and we still do, and we still carry out sexy works. You know, we do nothing but that, but it's a case of just finding the next level by breaking down doors, meeting new people, join an association, meet like-minded landscapers. There's often clients at association dues. Understand the industry from the inside out, and believe it or not, there's a market there for everyone. I mean, look at the billions that horticulture is worth, nearly 40 billions worth of GDP at the moment. And it's getting nothing but bigger. People are becoming more and more aware of outside spaces. Get in with builders, get in with developers, get in with civil engineers, and just start opening doors. The more doors you open, the more opportunities you have, obviously. But it is a case often, as somebody who wants to get to the next level, of opening as many doors as you possibly can. And you're only ever going to do that by meeting people and getting in contact with people. And that's fairly a broad and vague answer, but it is just a case of getting out there.
I suppose the expression, the harder you work, the luckier you get. But in this kind of respect, it's like the smarter you work, the luckier you get, because anyone could be a busy fool and just work really, really hard. But you want to work hard in the right areas. So from what you're saying, then it's about being proactive, getting out there, getting out of the comfort zone, meet people, contact people, and that's sort of how you're working harder, working smarter, and not just sitting there waiting for it to happen. Go out there and think about what's really going to get you to where you want to get to. Who can you identify and speak to or get in touch with? See if you can start working with. Then you start making your own luck, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing once you work for one project team and you've done that successfully, they want to take you to the next most decent.
Snowballs, doesn't it?
It snowballs. If you go in there and you've got your own agenda and you want to get in and out and you don't want to meet anybody, that's not the way to do it. You've got to build relationships with every single client and every single client's team. And if you deliver and exceed what they want, they'll want to take you to the next job. If they see you acting fairly and honourably and compliantly, they're only going to want you on the next job. You know, we don't have any business development managers here. We don't need to do that to expand. Wow. We have people who want us on their next project because they don't want to risk getting a stack it high, sell it cheap type contractor in. They want somebody who does exactly what they're expected to do. And for as long as I'm in charge of Acre, we will always be compliant. I can't stand the people who deliberately use dark arts to get a job done for maximised profit. It ruins the industry, it ruins their company, their reputations
don't last
awful, and they have to rely on business development to get the next client in. When I said organically, I mean you literally just build teams of friends. You know, I've got mates that I've known in the industry for 30 years plus, and they are mates and they're suppliers and they're clients and they're competitors, because we don't believe in rubbish relationships where things only last during one project. I still use the same suppliers I used 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're innovative and they care about what they do and they're compliant. And the same happens. You don't want this churn of client. If you want to organically and solidly make a next step to expansion, it has to be done through relationships with people and the performance you do on the ground. Cut any corners in it. It will just be at the behest of your expansion plans.
Yeah. So again, it's like aligning yourself and your business with great people. So other great companies that have shared beliefs and values and ethos, and also recruiting people who have the same shared kind of ethos and values as well.
Yeah.
If you stick to that, you're not going to go far wrong. Just be good people. Just do things in the right way. Don't try and shaft people. Be abundant. Help each other out. And just be good humans, I suppose. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't. But it's probably the 80-20 rule again.
Yeah,
it's 20% that let down 80%. But most people in life, generally quite good people, aren't they? But,
absolutely.
You just want to avoid them in business. Whether they're employees or whether they're clients. Even you might get a bad client that's that doesn't pay or doesn't see that that's important, or snags everything just for the sake of it because they don't want to save a few quid. So it's just about, I think the older you get though, and the more experienced you are, the better you are at spotting the alarm bells.
Oh, absolutely. I can smell it a mile off. As soon as a client wants to supply their own material, as soon as a designer wants to do the same, that there's an agenda there. There's a cost cutting exercise and the environment, and then you just know you're in for trouble. And we avoid those like the plague. There is as many bad employees and bad clients and bad suppliers as there are, anything else. But that 80-20 rule is about right, and it's a case of avoiding them at all costs.
Absolutely.
We're about the size that I want us to be, unless inflation goes to double figures, which it looks like it will.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't want to take over the world, but the ethos is really, really simple. It is really simple. It's having the right vision with the right people, and you carry out the works the way you're supposed to. It's amazing how many people don't, that it really is that simple.
Well, on that note, Nigel, I think we shall wrap it up there. That is brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. I could talk to you for at least another hour, but I'm sure you're busy and other people are busy, but I think we've nailed it. You've got so much great knowledge and insights and wisdom and just good common sense, clear, brilliant advice. And I think that's what we need to keep it simple. People need to keep business simple works. And really, when you think about business, it should be quite simple. You've got to deliver a product and along the way make a profit and make sure that everyone's happy. And I think having a clear vision of what that is, getting the right people on the bus, delivering, in the best possible way, and getting people shouting from the rooftops about your services, and then you're going to get more business, and it's easy. Then it's nice, and you've done so well, and I really appreciate your time. If people do want to get in touch with you, either for a new project or to pick your brains, because I know you're abundant and you don't mind doing that, you enjoy doing that. How's the best way? What's the best way for people to contact you?
Probably best to go through Barley. So my email address at Barley is Nigel. I'm having to read it out because I hardly ever use it. Nigel.Bowcock@barley.org.uk. Failing that, for more business, it's inquiries. It's info@acrelandscapes.com.
Wonderful. Very good. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you now, but don't go away because I'll say goodbye to you properly in a second. So anyway, on behalf of myself and everyone listening, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, Nigel. It's been worth the wait. I've been trying to get hold of you. The IT gods conspired against us in spam folders and stuff, but we got here, and it's worth every minute we had to wait. So appreciate your help.
Enjoyed it.
Your time.
Cheers.
See you soon. Cheers, Nigel. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Grow Landscapers podcast. To get in touch and see how we can help you with your business by emailing nick@nickruddle.com.